What's up, everybody? My name is MrHurriicane, and welcome back to the San Diego Chargers franchise. This is the edited offseason, the shortened version of the full offseason that was streamed and posted to my channel a couple days ago. The links are in the description if you want to watch the stream version of the free agency portion or the draft portion. But to begin this recap, we have to, of course, begin with this entire offseason revolving around Philip Rivers. Would he stay as quarterback of the San Diego Chargers, where he has been since 2004? He's been a career Charger, he's now 36 years old and is coming off a pretty good season. But would he stick around? The plans would drastically change if he would choose to retire, so the first step was to get to the offseason and see who would retire from the league. And here are the retirements. We have some big names on there: Cameron Wake, Jonathan Joseph. You'll see Carson Palmer's name on this list, Haloti Ngata, Julius Peppers, Nick Mangold, Joe Staley, Derek Johnson, even Ryan Fitzpatrick. But we don't see any San Diego Chargers on this list. Instead, all we see is that head coach Mike McCoy gets a new contract. I gave him a 3-year deal. There were no San Diego Chargers who retired. Philip Rivers is still our starting quarterback, and here is the result of the Super Bowl as the Dallas Cowboys defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars using 2 quarterbacks in the game. Ezekiel Elliott had 99 yards and Cole Beasley had 2 touchdowns. So let's move on now to re-signing, as we had 19 free agents set to hit the market, led by Jeremiah Attaochu, one half of one of the best pass rushing duos in the league. But I wasn't going to begin there. I wanted to see the type of cap space we would have after making other deals with other players, because Attaochu would command very high level money. He's a very good outside linebacker. He's 25 years old and it's time for him to cash in. Then there is our kicker, who wants over $4 million a season, and I wasn't exactly going to rush a deal of that size for a kicker. Then you have many offensive linemen who had expiring contracts, along with the undrafted players from last year, along with some veterans who are on short-term contracts. So let's begin here. Matt Slauson wants a little north of $4 million a season. He has decent ratings at this point, but he wanted to test free agency, and I kind of wanted to see if we could get him a little bit cheaper anyway. Let's go to our starting free safety, Christopher Costin, who was undrafted out of North Dakota. We offered him a 3-year contract and he accepted. Then there was Carl Klug, who had a 1-year deal with us, had to start for a while, and actually played pretty well. So I wanted to bring him back for 1 more season, and he accepted that contract. Then there's Darius Gums, a very important piece of our defensive line as we look to improve our depth and maintain some of the youth we have. He accepted a contract. Then there was Zach Bogan, who is primarily a kick returner for us and could see his role expand. He accepted a 2-year deal. Then there was second-year tight end Derek Anelli, and we offered him a 3-year contract. A lot of these deals were bigger than they probably should have been, but I wanted to keep these players around, and especially players like Harmon Whitaker, who have a lot of potential, and I don't want to see other teams have a chance to sign them away. So Harmon Whitaker was a top priority. He stuck around, as did Derek Anelli. Then there's Aaron Enzer, and we need a nose tackle for next year as Brandon Mebane is aging, and we have questions there. He accepted his contract offer. And then many of these other players that just haven't panned out or haven't grown into big roles, I just decided not to negotiate with them and we'll look to bring in new players. This offseason was also a chance for us to get a little extra cap space and cut some bad contracts. Orlando Franklin is on a 5-year, $40 million contract, which is what Jeremiah Attaochu wants, and he didn't even play last year. It just wouldn't have been very beneficial to cut him last year. Now we cut him, there is a minor penalty. Same with King Dunlap, but we do get a lot of cap space in return that I wanted to use for our last couple free agents, as Josh Lambo rejected this contract, but also to look at what else was available in free agency. Let's go back to Jeremiah Attaochu. I gave him a $6 million a year offer. I knew he would end up testing here, so I was just already planning on giving him the franchise tag, and we'll revisit the situation next year when he is 26. So that takes us to unrestricted free agency. and check out the top names on the board. DeAndre Hopkins, Anthony Barr, Drew Brees, Andrew Whitworth, and Derek Carr all hit free agency. There was no star power after season 1, there sure is now. I went to look at Brandon Mebane's ratings and he has regressed, and I released him from his contract, and there's another penalty there. Before this franchise began, the Chargers handed out a lot of contracts to some older players. Let's look at Derek Carr here. He is available. It'll be very interesting to take the starting quarterback from a rival and bring him to our team. I wanted to see what offer you'd have to make just to have the top bid, and I wasn't trying to compete here as Cleveland had the comfortable lead. However, I wanted to bring in a quarterback because I want to secure our future at the position. I was preparing as if Phillip Rivers could retire. He did not retire, but I still wanted to find another quarterback this offseason, and Jimmy Garoppolo was my favorite choice out of the free agents. There was only one draftable prospect in the draft, so I wanted to make sure we got Jimmy Garoppolo as we outbid the Cardinals here, who were also pretty aggressive in trying to get him. At left tackle, the top option was Andrew Whitworth. He is 36 years old and still playing at an elite level. But there wasn't much competition here, so I thought we could get him for a cheaper contract. I gave him a low offer. But beyond Andrew Whitworth, there weren't many great offensive linemen in this free agent class. DJ Fluker was ranked the best right guard, and Matt Slauson the best left guard. When teams find good offensive linemen, they tend not to let them go, and that's evident here. There weren't options for us to fill the many holes on our offensive line, the biggest weakness of our team last year and even season 1. It was a big goal this offseason to start correcting that, but free agency wasn't going to help us out very much. I gave a contract offer to Rashid Hegman, who could be a good rotational player for us off the bench. Then there was Josh Lambo. I decided to offer to him again, not giving him the offer he was looking for, but an offer nonetheless and the only one at the time. How about Tavon Wilson here, just trying to add some safety depth. We have Bakari Rambo starting at the position after he started last year, so he gave an offer to Wilson. Then at right guard, Luke Bowanko, who is a 77 overall at 27 years old. He's a good run blocker and would at least be a viable one-year option for us. After stage 1 of free agency, we had contracts accepted by Jimmy Garoppolo, Luke Bowanko, and Josh Lambo. I was happy to get Garoppolo because Cole Hartman here was the only draftable quarterback for this class, and we see his talent is actually an early first rounder, and I expected him to go very early with no other good quarterbacks in this class, none that you would want to try grooming into being a starter of the future. So it was big for us to get Garoppolo in that spot. But now seeing other combine reports, I wanted to take a look at a variety of positions. How about Shaheen Lofton? I had mentioned during the stream I don't want to give a big contract to Melvin Gordon, so I did my homework on these young running backs. Here's Tyrus Sinclair, who is a speed back from Ole Miss. And at the same time, I had to keep in mind our needs on the offensive line. I've just been calling this guy Adrian, and he's a very good pass blocker and had the best bench press among left tackles. He was the top tackle on my board. How about Spencer Mackey? He had a very good combine, extremely athletic, second best bench at right guard, but a C+ pass block, doesn't have the elite skills for a first round pick. Dakota Hardman from Notre Dame, 6'7", 322, another balanced prospect as many of these were. Philip Wolf, a specialized run blocker here with C+ pass block as well. Darvion McCullum, who had another balanced skill set, a second round prospect this time, 6'4", 326 out of Texas, fourth best bench press. Middle linebacker wasn't a big need for us, but I still wanted to see what prospects were there, and Zach Moe had an excellent combine. He is deserving of a first round grade. There's Trey McMillan from Oregon, a prototype linebacker who didn't have the combine I hoped he would, but still had good skills. And at safety, this could be another high priority position for us. There were a lot of good safeties in this class. Bram Kendall, very fast, very strong. Then at strong safety, Brian Macklin, who is fast, can cover, and can lay big hits. Here's Pedro Triplett, 6'3", with range and elite hit power. Javonte Boykin, 6'4". There were so many interesting safeties in this class. going back to free agency now, and the market for Andrew Whitworth got completely out of hand. I gave him a $10 million offer, and that wasn't even going to come close to the Chicago Bears, who were in first place. So I decided to pull an audible here and go negotiate with Ryan Clady. Former Denver Bronco, was one of the premier left tackles for a long time. Maybe could be a good stopgap for us at left tackle this year. I gave him an offer. Looking at the signings, DeAndre Hopkins goes to Jacksonville, Anthony Barr to Buffalo, and Derek Carr goes to the Cleveland Browns. So what do the Raiders do from here? We'll see later. We got contracts accepted, or one accepted by Tavon Wilson and one rejected by Rashid Hagman. So I went to the trade block. What's out there? Well, about what I thought I'd see. Mid-70s players and nothing that would give us starting potential at a high level. So back to some familiar faces here. Matt Slauson, still good ratings. Wanted to give him a new offer, and he ended up accepting that offer, as did Ryan Clady. So that's a little bit better, although we had Slauson last year. I do think Clady is an upgrade over King Dunlap. And I had also placed Corey Liuget on the trade block. He is 28 years old. He has a big contract. We do have Joey Bosa on the team. I wanted to see what was out there for offers, but they weren't very enticing. They were all second-round picks for a couple years down the road. So that basically ended free agency. These were the moves that we made, headlined by the signing of Jimmy Garoppolo. But now time for the draft as we continue trying to assemble this roster for hopefully another run at the Super Bowl. The Colts had the very first pick and went defensive line. Then the Vikings at number 2 went guard. They took Spencer Mackey, and then the offensive lineman just kept coming off the board. I saw my favorite offensive lineman go in the top 5. And it wasn't done there. At number 6, another tackle off the board. Clay goes to the 49ers. Esponda goes to the Eagles. It wasn't looking good early if we were going to sit where we were in the first round and wait for a tackle to fall. Trey McMillan went to the Patriots, and then at back-to-back picks, Bram Kendall and Brian Macklin go off the board. At 18, Shaheen Lofton to the Ravens. The top players at the positions I was targeting all were off the board. We were waiting down there in the late 20s for our turn to finally pick. The Raiders at 27 went with a wide receiver, not a quarterback. As a matter of fact, nobody selected a quarterback in the first 29 picks. I didn't even realize this until the chat was letting me know in the comments, and that's when I got excited. Cole Hartman was still available. This quarterback prospect here, everybody passed up. We were not going to do the same. We selected Cole Hartman with our first round pick. Superstar development. He may be 24 years old, but look at his abilities now. He's a very good pocket passer, strong arm, accurate. And despite signing Jimmy Garoppolo, I was not going to pass up on Cole Hartman, and immediately, Jimmy Garoppolo went on the trade block. So from there, I had to figure out, what do we do next? I wanted to get a really good offensive lineman, but there wasn't one in free agency we could sign, and we had a very unique situation there to draft Cole Hartman, so I wanted to trade up. Couldn't quite convince the Colts, but then at 35, the Arizona Cardinals, remember, had the second highest bid for Jimmy Garoppolo. We barely offered more money than them. So we decided, hey, you can have Jimmy Garoppolo and a third round pick. Just give us your second here at 35 overall. And that deal was made. It worked out for both sides very well. So here we were, just 5 picks after selecting Cole Hartman, and we drafted Darvion McCullum next, a right guard from Texas. Good run blocker, needs to develop his pass blocking, but he's 21 with quick development, and I expect he could be a day 1 starter on the right side. Now, while I drafted a quarterback and a guard already, I had passed up on the safeties, and they started going off the board. I missed out on a very good safety class, but I could not pass up on upgrading our offensive line and acquiring a potential quarterback for the future after Phillip Rivers. Afterwards, I wasn't a fan of the value in the third round, at least for where we were selecting, so I decided to trade down with Minnesota as they ended up taking a potential running back to replace Adrian Peterson. That is Tyrus Sinclair. We'll check out his ratings in a little bit. We only went down a few picks, so at 66, I felt like the board looked around the same, so I decided to trade down again and get a 4th round pick in the process. Had to go all the way down to 79, but the player I wanted was still there. Now we go to a tackle. Corey Benoit, a pass blocker from Indiana State. He may be 24 years old, but he's talented, and I'm hoping he can develop into a starting left tackle for us. He is 75 overall and was 46 in true talent. I was happy with these first 3 picks. Then we had another pick late in the 3rd round, and there weren't many safeties left on the watch list, so I decided to select one here finally. Mike Quick from Michigan State. His 40-yard dash definitely concerned me, and the speed reflects that 4.7 run time. He doesn't have great coverage, probably going to be more of a box safety, but I felt like he was one of the better values on the watch list, at least, if you looked at where he was projected to go. So I wasn't thrilled about that pick. Later in the 4th round, I decided then to go back to the offensive line yet again and draft Max Sanchez. We had drafted a tackle, guard, and now a center who has a very balanced skill set, and we'll see if he could perhaps become a guard or what he could develop into, but I think he's a good offensive lineman. And then again at 126, we had another 4th round selection late in the 4th this time. And I decided to go back to safety because Trevor Amato here from Northern Iowa ran a 4.41, and I felt like he was one of the best players on the watch list. It was good value, and he is very fast, a lot of range. I think he'll be more of a free safety, being 5'11", 196 with that speed and the way we play our safeties, but he also has 87 hit power. Let's go into the 5th round now. Still some more picks to make, and now we go pass rusher, a 7th round prospect whom I liked quite a bit, Brandon Yancey from Drake. A good power 3-4 pass rusher. Not the athlete you look for necessarily, but he has the strength to get to the quarterback. At pick 190 in the 6th round, I considered drafting the chat's favorite player here, DeAndre Gooch from Montana State, because I wanted someone who could be a potential nose tackle for us, but I didn't think the time was right, so I went back to offensive line and drafted Luke Eby, or Eby, I'm not quite sure, but he's from Hawaii. He is a run-blocking left guard, and he was 61 in true talent, so another good selection for us on the offensive line. And the 4th offensive lineman of this class. 1 round left, now in the 7th at pick number 198. We selected Sylvester Arsenault, 6'2 receiver, 92 speed, 81 catching, 95 jumping. The physical traits are there, but the route running isn't at this point. As we sim to our last pick, we see DeAndre Gooch was drafted by the Dolphins, and the chat wasn't too happy about that. So with our final pick, I selected the last player remaining on the watch list. It was another receiver, and I selected Denard Martz from Penn. Very similar to Arsenault without the speed and acceleration. So that completes our draft class for this year, 10 players, led by the quarterback Cole Hartman. We selected 4 offensive linemen, 2 safeties, a linebacker, and 2 receivers. 7 out of our 10 picks were on the offensive side, mostly because of how the board just fell. But I was very happy to get Cole Hartman and some good offensive linemen. Let's look at some other players now. The Kansas City Chiefs, one of our rivals in the AFC West, went receiver in the 1st round as they selected Terrence Watt, who has very good ratings across the board. He's 6'1", 219. Let's go to the Dolphins. They selected DeAndre Gooch. He had 88 strength, the best bench press among right ends, and he appeared to have the skill set I was looking for. He would need development, but we missed out, and the chat was hoping for a trade. Here was the Raiders' 1st round pick. Another receiver goes to a division rival. This is who they selected over Cole Hartman. He looks to be very good, but the Raiders did not address quarterback in the offseason. Then there's the Broncos, who also took a 1st round wide receiver. All 3 of our division rivals went 1st round receiver, and they're all looking to be pretty good. The Arizona Cardinals have Jimmy Garoppolo now protected by a new left tackle Adrian here, very good pass blocker, definitely an elite left tackle prospect. Philip Wolf for the Falcons is a great run blocker with 93 strength as well. Then there's Andre Clay, who went at number 6, and he's another good pass blocker. There wasn't the chance for us to get one of these offensive linemen without trading up in the first round. Here's a safety we missed out on, Brian Macklin, one of my favorites, of course. 91 speed, 83 zone coverage. Trey McMillan went to the Patriots and has a pretty good skill set here, even with a disappointing combine. There's Shaheen Lofton, who appears to be perhaps the next superstar running back in the league, as he is on the Baltimore Ravens now. Tyrus Sinclair went to Minnesota, and he could be the replacement for Adrian Peterson. He's fast. I'm looking forward to what these two rookie backs can do this year. Then there's the Raiders and their quarterback situation, and it appears they will rely on the young Connor Cook this season. The ratings aren't bad, but he still has to develop. They drafted him pretty high a couple years ago, and now it's his time to start. Everything now you see is after the live stream was over, so we're going to look at undrafted free agents and the other moves I made afterwards. I went to check out the Dolphins roster because they had DeAndre Gooch. They were thin at defensive end, and they could use a player like him. I did not offer a trade, but I will keep an eye on if he goes to the practice squad or what he does this preseason. But I did make some trade offers. I offered Max Turk, one of our centers, to the Bills for Cardale Jones, who had an excellent game against us last season, but the Bills were not interested in this trade. Max Turk is still on the trade block, by the way. I then went to look at running backs, because this is Melvin Gordon's contract year, and I've already said I don't want to give him a big contract. On the trade block, I saw CJ Prosise was available. I like CJ Prosise a lot. I think he has a lot of potential. He's very versatile. He played receiver in college as well, and he wasn't being utilized very much by the Seattle Seahawks. He had 12 total touchdowns in his rookie season, only 2 in his second, and Thomas Rawls has been their lead back. I saw a great opportunity here to offer a trade to the Seahawks for CJ Prosise. They have some need at cornerback, and we have depth there now thanks to a strong draft class last year. Craig Mager is a good player. He was up and down for us last season, and then Caesar Butler had the chance to start, and he never let go of that job. The Seahawks, outside of Richard Sherman, who is now 29 years old, could use some more competition at cornerback, so I offered them Craig Mager plus a 7th round pick, as they only had 4 picks for next year's draft. I threw in the 7th round pick, offered them the deal, and the Seahawks accepted. CJ Prosise is now a San Diego Charger, and I'm very excited about this move. It could be a major move for us, because I think he has starting potential. At the least, Andre Ellington just regressed this year. He's 29 years old. I think Prosise does his role better and offers starting potential if we don't keep Melvin Gordon on the team. What do you think of that move? Let me know. Now let's look at undrafted players, and here is my favorite. Taj Wilson is a defensive end from Baylor. He's 6'6", 302 pounds, and he's fast. 85 speed, 78 strength, 85 power move. I don't view him as a defensive end. He's not quite as strong as I would like. I think of him as an outside linebacker. Yes, at 6'6", 302 pounds. He's an outside linebacker. It's a blend of height, weight, and speed that you can't ignore. Now he's going to be a big outside linebacker, and bigger than even other big linebackers like Pernell McPhee, who is 6'3", 273. But look at his agility, look at his speed. I want to see him play outside linebacker, and I am so excited to see him play in the preseason. Let's check out some other undrafted players. Here is Carroll Crisp, a right tackle from LSU, who is a pass blocker with 73 run blocking and 82 strength. We'll see if he can become a backup or go to the practice squad. Here is Kendrick Downs, another outside linebacker, not as big as Taj Wilson, but we'll see if he can add some depth to our team. And I did change his number from 55 to, I believe, 45. Here is cornerback Michael Scantlebury from Texas Tech, a zone cover specialist at 6'2", 205. I like to develop him into a press zone corner, and I think he has quite a bit of potential in that role. There's also cornerback Julius Drew here, who isn't quite as tall, but is another cornerback who will compete for a spot on the roster or perhaps the practice squad. At running back, here is Daniel Sanders, who has 89 speed, 87 acceleration, a rookie from USC. And I changed his number from 21 to 29. By the way, here is a look at our new rookie quarterback, Cole Hartman, who is number 5. And we'll see what he can do in the preseason. I'm just very excited that we got a chance to acquire him while we had Phillip Rivers still on the team. Back to undrafteds, here is Stephon Downing from Washington, trying to compete here as a backup tight end prospect. I also signed some veterans like Garrett Selleck to be our primary blocking tight end this year. And I also had to address the defensive line depth, and I did so by signing Ego Ferguson, who has 4 years of experience and a pretty balanced skill set, along with Austin Johnson from Penn State. He will compete with Aaron Enzer for the nose tackle role. There is also Leon Orr, as I tried to get as much competition here as we could. Roster was getting pretty full. Those are all the moves we have to talk about here with the Chargers. What do you guys think? And how about this? John Harbaugh is the new coach of the Steelers, and Mike Tomlin is the new coach of the Falcons. Some interesting things going on here in this Chargers franchise, as you also see the Patriots sign Jamal Charles, and very soon we debut brand new Charger Stadium, and I can't wait to see the new home of the San Diego Chargers. So up next is the preseason for San Diego as they open at home against the Indianapolis Colts. But we won't see the first official game there until week 3 against the San Francisco 49ers. We open this year on the road against the Raiders and Chiefs. Alright, there you have it, guys. The edited off season for Season 2 as we move into Season 3 in the San Diego Chargers franchise. Let me know down below what you thought of this offseason and the moves that were made. It was an interesting offseason, one that I could not have predicted, but I'm pretty happy with a lot of the players that are now on the roster. If you enjoyed, please leave a like on the video and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes in the Chargers franchise or in my Kalispell Dynasty. 2 very fun series going on right now. That's going to do it for today, everybody. Thank you all for watching and have a great day.